Pregnant at 42? That's disgusting. You are already old. What are you trying to beat at this stage? It's seriously impossible to carry out a pregnancy. We've been married for over 20 years. I've always wanted a child and worked so hard to have one. The long-awaited moment finally arrived, but my husband's profanity was so terrible. He looked at me with contempt as if I were a piece of trash. I felt anger that overridden my deep sorrow. I was determined to make my life with my beloved child and ran out of the house. In addition to giving birth at my age, I was going to be a single mother. It was not an easy road. Still, if I never had to see his face again, I gritted my teeth to protect my child. It was during those days that the worst reunion happened. I never imagined that it would lead to such an ending, though. My name is Lisa. I got married at the age of 20 to Ivan, whom I have been dating since high school. We enjoyed our newlywed life a little earlier than others around us. Although we were not well off, we were fulfilled with our daily life except there was one thing. It was infertility. We got married before anyone else, but we couldn't get pregnant. In 5 years, our friends got married and had babies, but we were not as fortunate as them. Why can't we have a baby? I think you have a problem. Whenever people around us brought the news of pregnancy, Ivan got grumpy and insulted me. He made himself out of the victim and put all the blame on me. Why don't we go through infertility treatment together? If we can't get pregnant after all this time, we have no choice but to get proper help. Why do I have to go? A woman gives birth, so the cost must be the woman. Besides, how much do you think the treatment costs? It was true that infertility treatment did not guarantee pregnancy and was not cheap either. It also took a lot of time, so I could understand why he didn't want to go through with it. His words made me sad, but I was more pained by the coldness of the way he looked at me. Most women get pregnant naturally, but you are seriously incompetent. I feel like I've been cheated. I shouldn't have married you. He ended the conversation then and started watching TV with a beer in his hand. He had no idea that I cried alone every time. This exchange went on for years. I eventually stopped talking about infertility treatment. We were still sexually active, but it became an unfulfilled and meaningless act for me. Deep in my heart, I always kept the hope to have a child. More than 10 years passed before my wish came true. One day, when I turned 42, the hope I had almost given up on sprouted. No way! I'm pregnant! I thought I was dreaming. As I checked the pregnancy test, ready to be disappointed as always, I could not believe I was seeing before my eyes. Forgetting to wipe away the tears, I immediately ran up to Ivan. Honey, I'm finally pregnant! We're having our baby! He was watching TV and looked at me in surprise. Then he let out a prolonged sigh. It's too gross! An old lady getting pregnant? It's nothing but a nuisance now. What are you saying? I could not understand what he meant. When I was done, he continued talking one-sidedly. Don't have a baby. It's going to only cost us money. Abortion isn't free either. Are you mad? How could you say such a thing? I have no feelings for you anymore. Just when I'm thinking of a divorce, you come up with trouble. Living with you is nothing but a pain in the neck for me. On top of that, I don't want to have to raise a child. With a distorted smile on his face, he shooed me the weight with his hand. I'd been told a lot of horrible things by him, but I couldn't endure anymore. At that moment, I finally decided that I would rather live as the mother of a child than as the wife of a man like him. If that's the case, I would divorce you. I would take responsibility for raising this child. I can't be with a lousy person like you. That's convenient. Good luck raising this child alone, old lady. Don't come begging me for help. He made it clear that he would not recognize the child. If I had taken the advice of my attorney to fight for child support, I could have gotten it from him. I was just so angry and disgusted that I only wanted to divorce him as fast as possible. I ended up getting nothing after all. Such things were trivial to me at that point. After our separation, I immediately returned to my parents' home, and with their support, I was able to give birth. My long-awaited son was adorable, and I thought I could do anything for him. When my body recovered, I decided to look for a job right away to make ends meet. My parents were to take care of my son so that I could work without worry. After visiting several places, I was hired by the diner. The manager and his wife were very kind people. As well as providing me with meals, they also gave me leftover food every day. I was more than grateful for their helpness. We would like to support you in any way we can. You can bring your baby here sometimes. Thanks to the considerate manager and his wife, I had no trouble making a living. It was around the time I was getting used to my job. I went to greet customers as usual and was stunned to see one of their faces. Oh my God, what are you doing here? It was Ivan sitting in the booth. Just looking at his face was enough to make me anxious. It was made worse by the young woman next to him, who looked at me puzzled. None of your business. I mean, do you work here? He laughed and tried to make fun of me. You must be miserable, working in a rundown diner, looking like a bitter old woman. Unlike you, I'm leading a very colorful life. He began to talk about himself without being asked for it. The woman he had with him was the daughter of a very respectable family with all money. After marrying her, he quit his job and was training to take over her family business. He did look a little well off, wearing a nice watch and all. I cut the conversation short and had a minimum exchange with him. Despite that, I could hear him talking bad about me and bragging about himself loudly until he left the diner. The woman next to him, looking embarrassed, must have been having a hard time with him. I felt a little sorry for her. As I was cleaning the table, the manager came up to me. Was there someone you know? He seemed like a very vulgar person, unlike you. He's my ex-husband. I'm very ashamed of him. Really? He came here several times in the past several years. I remember him well because of his behavior. My mind went blank. A few years ago meant that he had been cheating on me for a long time. He didn't initiate divorce until I became pregnant because he wasn't sure if he was fertile. If the woman was from a respectable family, the issue of heirs was an important matter. A man who couldn't have children was out of the question. When I got pregnant, he was convinced and was able to divorce me without a worry. The fact that I had been cheated on for so many years infuriated me. I was unaware of the affair at the time of our divorce and didn't file for alimony. The manager's memory alone wasn't enough evidence. It was too late to gather proof, and there was nothing I could do to get back at him anyway. Is there anything I can do now? As I was trying to wrap my head around it, the manager gave me the contact of someone. If you want to do something about it, you should speak to her. She will help you. A lawyer? Or a detective? No, someone who might be the stronger ally. At first, I didn't understand what he was saying. I had no way of knowing at the time that she would unexpectedly make a big difference in my life. Then, about a year after Ivan visited the diner, I suddenly received a call from him. He wanted to talk to me urgently. I decided to meet him at a nearby coffee shop. As soon as he arrived, he let out a deep sigh. I've been married to Mary for a year now, and it's really been hell. Mary was the woman he was with. He complained about her family and lifestyle, which he originally bragged to me about. She's the same as you. She can't get pregnant. I'm really unlucky with finding a decent woman. I'm in such a hurry to have an heir, and this is really annoying. My in-laws are even saying that I'm the cause of the infertility. That's bullshit. I listened to his complaint silently, sipping my coffee without even nodding to him. I envy you for being able to make a living with such a simple job. I'm told that they don't need an old man who can't even produce an heir, and they won't even let me work. It's just too much. I went out of my way to quit my job and moved in with them in the countryside. They're ungrateful people. Do you have to tell me that? I don't have time for this. As I finished my coffee, he took my hand and squeezed it tightly. I'm not going to go through all this trouble to live in that filthy countryside. Why don't we start over? You are poor and in trouble, aren't you? I will help you. Not a single word of apology from him. To top it off, he talked nonsense as he saw fit. My anger reached its peak. I shook his hand off as I screamed at him, not caring about other customers around. Don't you dare! You threw me and our child away like trash! And now what? I even know that you were having an affair with Mary while we were still together. Why would I want to go back to a man like you? My shout attracted the customer's attention. He was furious to be shamed in public. He overruled it with an even louder voice. You're making false accusations! You cast suspicions without proof. I'm suing you for defamation. I flinched a little at his sheer intensity, but at the same time I laughed. My joy at the certainty of victory outweighed my fear. I will give her all the proofs she needs. At the best possible moment, the woman sitting in the next booth stood up. When he saw her face, he was so surprised that he squeaked. Mary, why are you here? Lisa told me you were meeting her here. She sat down next to me and faced him. I have a years-long record of our correspondence. That should be enough proof of our affair, right? Wait, how do you guys know each other? That's because of the manager of the diner, right, Lisa? I nodded in agreement. The contact he gave me that day was Mary's. She had been a frequent customer of the diner for a long time and was a good friend of his. When he saw her looking unhappy next to Ivan, he thought that she might be going through the same as I did. After much consideration, I contacted her and we hit it off about Ivan. We became friends who shared the same problem. She apologized to me repeatedly for the affair. She had even offered me compensation for it. Instead, I asked her for help getting revenge on Ivan. I've been listening to you talk for a while, but you are such a liar. You're not being let to work because you had an affair with the housekeeper. Besides, your personality has changed too much since we got married. It's nothing but a shame now. You led me to the housekeeper because you don't get pregnant. It's not my fault. When we took a fertility test, it was you who got a bad result. It was your fault. I wasn't going to blame you for that, But if you're going to use it as an excuse, it's a different story. Trying to escape from Mary, who went on scolding him, he looked at me with pleading eyes. Mary preventing that by banging on the table. Are you bailing out again? Your life is so miserable. Quit and run again and again. I heard you call Lisa incompetent a long time ago, but you are an example of incompetence. Stop being a selfish idiot and pay Lisa the alimony now. Shut up! Divorce was finalized and there's nothing she can do about it. Why would I pay her now? Then she can sue you for emotional distress. She had gone through a difficult pregnancy thanks to you abandoning her. No way! As he plopped down on the table, Mary shoved divorce papers in front of him. I asked you to divorce me too. Of course, I will charge you alimony for the affair. Wait a minute. He finally started to cry and repeatedly hit his forehead on the table. What am I going to do now that I've divorced again? Have no job and no house? I can't pay alimony on top of it all. I would never cheat on you again, so please forgive me. How can I trust a man who has already committed adultery twice? You can pay alimony by borrowing money or in whatever way you can. That's how much pain you've caused me. He knew that Mary was so determined and could not be persuaded. He turned his tear-stained face to me next. I'm really sorry. I'll become the kind of man you want me to be. Please, forgive me. I thought about it for a moment before answering with a smile. Then, pay child support and become the man who will never appear in front of me again. Oh no, don't you have compassion? Since you can say it to me and mean it, I guess you don't have compassion. I'll tell everyone in this coffee shop what abuse you have said to me. I wonder how many people would be on your side. He finally gave up and reluctantly signed the divorce papers. In the end, I succeeded in getting back at him with Mary's cooperation. After he lost a place to live, he found a run-down apartment while working a few part-time jobs. He's doing unfamiliar work without a day off at this age and will continue to live like this until he pays off alimony to Mary. In addition, I'm currently in the process of getting his recognition of my son. A DNA test has already been done, so it should be just a matter of time. He will be responsible for paying child support soon. I can finally take a break now that everything is settled. I still keep in touch with Mary and sometimes meet her at the diner. We enjoy our current lives, laughing and talking about how we are going to find a good partner next time.